Welcome back, Pack. Shit. Hold on.
Take two.
Welcome back, Pack, for another fantasy football mock draft video. This is going to be pick number 3, but this time I have a special guest joining me, the wonderful Trademark Cast. Trevor, how you doing, buddy?
I'm ready for some football.
That dude, honestly, it can't come any sooner. Obviously, at pick 3, I'm starting the draft. Let's get this going. We have 12 picks. I'm not yet. Screw an introduction.
That's
12
a
picks,
10.
5 minutes. So you have what?
10 picks.
10
10 team. Oh, you mean
12 picks.
12 players. Got it.
12, yes, with no defense or kickers, because you're gonna fly those anyways.
Yeah, who cares?
Okay, so this is at least this went how I expected it to go. Thankfully, like Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, it didn't go like Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson, and then I'm on the third pick with a choice of Taylor and McCaffrey. But it's a tough third pick because I feel like Derrick Henry or Austin Eckler can't really go wrong. I'm gonna go with Derrick Henry though, because he was like the highest scoring running back in the league before he got injured, like 27 points a game or something like that. It was insane.
Yeah, Derrick Henry's statistics that he put up were asinine, and you just gotta hope that he is able to reproduce that again. Stay injury free. This is pretty expected, I guess, for the first few picks. I mean, these are all super high caliber players that are gonna put up a ton of points, and that's kind of where you obviously are going to look in the first round, players that are going to put up a ton of points, players that did well in the past. And because of that, I'm going to stick with someone that's going to get me some points in a PPR league. And I'm taking Jamar. I got to take Jamar.
Yeah, I think that's a good choice. I mean, I was talking about in the last couple of videos. It's like, I love having 2 of my 3 picks in the first 3 rounds as running backs. But when there's like that much value, and especially in a PPR league where you're going to get 100 points off of receptions alone, like, you can't go wrong with Kupp, Jefferson, or Chase. I think it goes all the way down to Davante Adams as far as like 5 receivers you can get in going into the second round. You could get probably 100 points easily from receptions. And now you're back on the clock in the second round after you went Joe Mixon, Diggs, Davante Adams, CeeDee Lamb going high. Najee Harris still on the board. Interesting enough.
Yeah, and Najee Harris is tempting, right, to look at this, but it's like I just don't. Pittsburgh's offense scares me.
I'm the same way.
Pittsburgh's offense is
scary.
scary.
The exact same way.
I just don't have a lot of faith in it. I don't have a lot of faith in that system anymore. I think they've just been on the downhill trend for a while. I love, like we're talking about PPR and points we're going to get for receptions. I mean, you could look at, there's a ton of wide receivers around here. And, someone that you've actually talked about a few times that you're going to get a double-edged dagger with. Deebo Samuel is insane. Like, the amount of points that he's going to put up on both the ground and in the air. Like, I mean, he's a guy that he's going to put up points on the board. And if I'm getting a wide receiver running back combo with Jamar Chase and Deebo Samuel, I'll take it every time. I'll leave Najee Harris up.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. So double receiver start for you, and I'm probably going to go double running back. With the running backs that are still up, there's just insane value for me at the end of the second. But Jamar Chase and Deebo Samuel, you have a running back receiver pairing in Deebo Samuel. So it's like you can kind of wait on the running backs. And because of kind of how this is panned out with, CeeDee Lamb going a little bit early, I'd say all the other receivers kind of where they go. But there's still a lot of great running backs that could fall to you in the next, 10 picks or so. I think the tough decision for me here is Aaron Jones versus Kamara. But I think almost every time I'm going with Kamara, I still think he's like a top 5 back. And especially in a PPR league, his reception total could be insane with Jameis Winston, who he loves to throw the ball deep, but I'm sure he'll get in a lot of scrambles and have to pressure over to Kamara. So I think Kamara is still going to be insane PPR. And I'm going to try this strategy. It's a lot of people have talked about it. It's called the double hero or something like that running back strategy where you don't get another running back until like the 7th or 8th round. So I'm going to try that because realistically, am I ever replacing Derrick Henry or Kamara? No.
Only on a bye week.
Yeah, absolutely not. So there's no reason for me to try and go get a third running back, even though Henry, Kamara, and Saquon would be like league winning at this point. But
assuming Kamara and Saquon make it to the end of the season.
That's true. Yeah, assuming Kamara doesn't get suspended and Saquon is healthy enough. But it's just the receivers are kind of awkward here. I'm trying to decide I would totally go Saquon in this scenario, but there's so many good running backs, which to you in 5 picks, there's going to be a good running back.
For sure.
For more than likely. So I'm going to just try and get a safe option, Mike Evans. He's obviously still with Tom Brady. I mean, he's going to be the number one with Chris Godwin being out. And Julio Jones, he's probably going to still play that Antonio Brown role where it's like, he has some great weeks and is really good, but Mike Evans will just always be insane.
Yeah, I'm not going to take anything away from the Tampa offense.
Yep.
They've done pretty well, and Tom Brady's, top 3 quarterback of all time, depending on who you ask. But there was a point, in the second round, what we're talking about with the running backs that are available. Yes, I could have taken Najee Harris, DeAndre Swift, Nick Chubb, Kamara, any one of those. But the fact that I get that double-edged sword with Deebo Samuel allows me to open up, like you were saying, into a double wide receiver open, because I do get that extra value out of Deebo, which is going to translate straight into a running back pick here for me, because I'm going to turn around in 5 more picks and be able to pick up something,
true.
depending on what these last 2 clowns at the end of it are going to do. But there's a lot of offenses here. You talk about good running backs that are going to produce. I mean, we just gave credit to Tampa's offense. Fournette's number 1 up there. You always feed Zeke. You can have a lot of faith in feeding Zeke, and it's the Cowboys. It's their year every year.
I don't understand why. Like, I know Pollard, took some away from Zeke, but he still ran for 1,000 yards. He had 47 receptions and 10 rushing touchdowns. Like, he's still the same Zeke. Like, I don't understand why everyone's just so far away from him when he was a top 5 pick the last couple of years. I know Pollard's going to take some work, but I mean, especially in the 3rd round where he's dropping, it's incredible value. Same with Leonard Fournette. That's kind of still with your choice there. You have a absolute workhorse running back who's just going to be incredible. I mean, 69 receptions last season. Didn't even have to run the ball that much because how much Tom Brady ended up dumping over to him. And like you said, for the Tampa Bay offense, it's kind of, you can't really go wrong with any of those players. But I like the Zeke choice. It comes through. Fournette and James Conner follow Kittle and AJ Brown, and then back to you. So what's your thoughts on a tight end like Kyle Pitts this early? You think you'd rather just wait till the end?
I do not like going for Kyle Pitts at this point. I think I would much rather hold out for a tight end. There's plenty more that can pull their own weight. If I would have gone for a tight end, it would have gone in round 2 with Travis Kelce, but then I'd be walking the line of where's my other wide receiver going to be, who's my other PPR guy going to be. So I'll let Kelce fall a couple picks after that. So I'm going to stay out of the tight end category. I would like to pick up another running back if I go back-to-back like this.
This is that awkward.
Yeah, this is the point now where I'm like, okay, I could go one side or the other because there's good wide receivers up here that are available. Joe Burrow just had a phenomenal year last year, so T. Higgins right there. But I already have Jamar Chase. I'm not going to sandbag myself like that. So scoring McLaurin, he's good for it, assuming the Washington quarterback situation gets figured out. But that's the thing. I don't want to dive into the Washington quarterback situation. Yeah. So I'm just not going to do that. So I'm probably going to stick with another running back. And you talk about the wild card situations, like, Cam Akers is up there, but I like to dig a little deeper into something about where we're going to go. I'm an AFC East guy. I do not like the New York Jets. I think they're a terrible football team. I don't care what Breece Hall is going to bring to the table. But from the Trevor to Trevor, I'll take Trevor Lawrence and the faith in the Jacksonville offense, and I'll go with Travis Etienne.
Yeah, and I like that. I think, they're still kind of talking about James Robinson. Apparently, it's still his backfield, but I highly doubt that once Travis Etienne starts to play a little bit more. And obviously, with the removal of the head coach, I'm now forgetting his name.
Meyer?
On Jacksonville. Yeah, Urban Meyer, who was an absolute mess and hated his running backs completely. Etienne should actually and that's a good upside. You already have Zeke as your one, so you're confident you're going to have a very stable, like, kind of workhorse running back. But Travis Etienne gives you a lot of upside. And like you said, I'm not picking Cam Akers. David Montgomery scares me on a terrible offense. Like, it's just, and Breece Hall, the same thing. It's a terrible offense, and he could be splitting time. So it's just really awkward. And what everyone's been kind of naming I think the 4th round through 7th round or something like that for running backs is the dead zone. These are where the most bad running backs picks are, apparently, in fantasy football the last couple of years has been in these rounds. So and it makes sense. If you're looking at the names there, none of those are going to hit. You're not hitting with Antonio Gibson, who's returning kicks. You're not going to hit with J.K. Dobbins, who's going to get injured again, or Elijah Mitchell, who's going to get injured again. Like, it's just a messy, messy room of running backs in the next few rounds. But something I did want to think about was Mark Andrews instead of Mike Evans at my 3-3 pick. I think Mark Andrews gives you that tight end wide receiver 1 upside, basically. And there's so many good receivers that I still like, especially at this pick. Scary Terry. I love how good Terry McLaurin is, but I'm so afraid of Carson Wentz.
Yes.
It's really hard to want to get Terry McLaurin. So I am going to reach for Michael Pittman Jr. here just because he's
Good
the
pick.
number 1 on the Colts offense. Matt Ryan's just going to be a safe option for Michael Pittman. And like, it's just going to be a really solid PPR machine there as my second choice. Then went Waddle, Darren Waller, Breece Hall, Terry McLaurin, and back to me again. And like I said, I'm not choosing another running back for a while. I think that's kind of a strategy with Derrick Henry and Alvin Kamara. I mean, I will not need a third running back. I'm gonna, in a PPR league, I'm probably gonna flex a receiver anyways. So I'm gonna look for a receiver or a tight end, and I don't really want Dalton Schultz or TJ Hawkinson, those kind of mid end, like decent tight ends. If I was gonna take a tight end, like you said, a tight end early with Travis Kelce or maybe Mark Andrews in the 3rd round, but that's kind of where my limits are for a tight end. So I'm gonna go receiver. Once again, it's just a choice now. Do I reach for my guy Cortland Sutton for the Denver offense? This is kind of where he's been going, and apparently he's just been like coveted as Russell Wilson's favorite target. And with an offense like that, we already saw what he did with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. He can do it again with Jared Jeudy and Sutton. I am not afraid of that. And Cortland Sutton's like the same build as DK. Obviously, he doesn't bench 450 pounds, but he's still 6'4". He's really good at catching like contested catches and everything and deep runs. So Cortland Sutton is a great choice. I also really like DJ Moore. And now they finally announced, shockingly, Baker Mayfield as the starting quarterback for the Carolina Panthers over Sam Darnold. I couldn't believe it when I heard the news. But last year, he got 160 targets with Sam Darnold and like a mess of quarterbacks. Like DJ Moore is incredible value, but I'm going to go for Cortland Sutton. I talked myself into it. And, you know, as that Denver Broncos fan I am, and like I mentioned in the last video, you got to know who's in your league. You got to know, in my league especially, there's going to be some Denver Bronco fans. So I got to be careful on not reaching too high for Denver players, but I think still a good pick here.
Yeah, you got to know who's in your league, and that includes the AI sometimes. That'll just jump over a couple picks.
True.
You know, I look at Cortland Sutton, and I look at Jerry Jeudy. I'm like, okay, those are good guys, you know, but it's ADP like a 49 to 51. Like, they're so 50-50 coin toss. Like, that's not a person I'm going to go with because I just don't know exactly who's going to be your number 1 target. So what I was looking at right there, as you're giving that long spiel about it, was the same conference right there with Mike Williams. Yes, that's exactly where I was going to go with my pick here. But as we see, the AI has...
He went high, too.
Yeah, AI's got me out of it. So I've lost out on that wide receiver pick, and now I'm left to
let's talk about this Team 4 stack with Austin Eckler, Justin Herbert, and Mike Williams real quick. The entire Chargers offense is Team 4. Yeah. That's a draft right there.
That's a Chargers fan for sure.
You could definitely win with your league with that kind of a draft, to be honest.
Yeah,
it's just very gambling heavy. If they suck, then you're losing the week.
Yeah, if the Chargers just completely fumble the bag, if their offensive line goes down, good luck. You're not getting anything out of any one of those 3. So you got to hope that something comes for Team 4 in the later stages of this one. But where do I go now? I thought I had it.
Chase, Debo, Zeke, and Etienne.
I thought I had it figured, and now I just don't.
Yeah. I love Mike Williams too, though. Definitely adding on to that. It's the same thing. Like Cortland Sutton, Jared Jeudy, they're both going to be good, but they're going to both have different weeks probably where they're going to be really bad and really good. With Russell Wilson, where he's going to target one of them specifically. But I think Herbert spreads the ball out a little more, and Mike Williams is a great pick there. And now you got to choose if you want another running back. You know, just in case Etienne is kind of your scary choice a little bit, you know, kind of determining that if he's the starter, if he's going to play this season. Obviously, he's still coming off a huge injury, so he's still trying to get back in the groove, but I still think, you know, great start of the draft for both of us, really.
Yeah, I am going to stick with the running back field just because of that. I don't know the confidence I have in Etienne, and I'm getting the running points out of Deebo Samuel. So, as you talked about in your video, Las Vegas situation, Kenyon Drake going out the door, so Josh Jacobs, and, you know, he is the projected best pick right now. So that is going to be mine. I just need another running back because I know that my next pick is going to circle back around here. I'm not going to lose out on this one. This is a point where I like to have a person that I can rely on that can line up on the offensive line and also do a little bit of work. And so I'm going to go with a tight end here in round 6. And I just... I'm not going to take any of those other guys. Like, don't get me wrong. Yeah, these are all top 5 tight ends in the league right now. But I've already got one. I have a lot of faith in the Dallas offense. I think that they're going to do some good things. Dalton Schultz was a good target last year as well. I had him on my team. I picked him up on a waiver wire even.
Yeah, he was a waiver choice.
Was doing great work for me off that after I lost, I don't remember who. My season was in shambles last year, so I'm going to pick up my tight end right now.
Yeah, and a lot of people believed in Blake Jarwin at the start of last season, so that's why Dalton Schultz wasn't really in the mix, and then came out of nowhere and started just getting everything ever. And if you look at the tight end room, Jake Ferguson, Sean McKeon are his backups. Like it's going to be Dalton Schultz all day in that tight end position. And Dallas is still struggling for receivers. Like let's not get that wrong. Gallup is still potentially on the PUP list. He's kind of being cleared a little bit, but it's CeeDee Lamb and their new picks, Jalen Tolbert, trying to get some rookies in, but. Like Dak's going to trust Dalton Schultz every single time. And now you have a crazy PPR start. And like you said, with Josh Jacobs, I've been kind of shying away, at least like the last couple of years on Josh Jacobs. But this year, it's just everything is pointing at him just being an absolute workhorse. Like he had 270 carries in 2020. And last year, it dropped down a little bit, but now he has zero contention. And he still gets a surprising amount of receptions. Like he had 54 receptions on 64 targets last year. And I think a really decent Raiders offense. And they're not going to have many players to throw to besides their two main stars. So obviously Darren Waller and Devontae Adams are your two picks there. But when Derek Carr needs it, Josh Jacobs is a great default option. And now I have a tough choice. And now I kind of wish I picked Mark Andrews because Lamar Jackson's just staring at me in the end of the 6th round. And I just think it's stupid for me not to go with that amount of value. Obviously, going quarterback early. I mean, 6th, 7th round is not necessarily early to my head because, like I said, I'm only going with 2 running backs until maybe this round or next round. It's because my 2 running backs are rock solid. If they're healthy, Derrick Henry has been healthy almost his whole life, running on 400 carries a year. So I expect him to be the same. Kamara is like a little bit more iffy, but I still believe in those two heavily. And now I have Lamar Jackson. So, and someone I'm targeting later is Rashad Bateman. Might be in the next couple of rounds as his receiver 1. Obviously, Mark Andrews still going to get a lot of the targets, but the targets here has to go somewhere on the Baltimore offense. So Rashad Bateman, as coming into his 2nd year, looked decent last year. Is someone I'm looking at later. But then 4 receivers go. Allen Robinson, Judy, Michael Thomas, Cooper. How do you feel about Michael Thomas, by the way, as he's going into the season?
Yeah,
me too.
That's about it. That's just about I'm not really super confident about it. I don't think that it's going to be the greatest thing in the world. Not something that I would risk myself on. To go to your pick, though, with Lamar Jackson, like same with Kyler Murray, you're going to get points out of it, out of the air and on the ground. Hawk was the other tight end I would talk about that has potential that I would have looked at going in. I mean, Jared Goff's going to at least give something right there to TJ. He's going to always get something. Damien Harris for running back in New England, even with an injury potential, he's number 1 back. They don't have anyone else in the backfield. They either traded or lost every other running back out of New England. So somebody has to take the ball, and Damien Harris is just about as good as it's going to get. So that's, a for sure number 1 running back on a roster. The same with Dalton Schultz. You look at the roster for running backs in New England, there are none. It's Damien Harris, and that's it. Right. I'm really happy right now with where I'm at, talking about Detroit and where TJ Hawkinson just went, because this is the pick last year, my rookie pick that I really wanted in my leagues, and I got robbed both times because one of my friends is not very nice and loves to aggravate me, so I lost out on my picks that time. And another one of the leagues I was in, the guy drafted explicitly a rookies-only roster, and it was the pick right before me, and so I lost this one. I'm on Ross St. Brown, put up numbers, and that's another one I'm going to take because he is reliable. Like I said, Jared Goff is going to find TJ. He's going to find St. Brown. Those are 2 points producers that I would happily have on my team, but I'll just happily take Dalton Schultz. So now with another receiver on my roster, I got 3 and 3. And it's still too early for me to take quarterback. Yeah, you got Russell right there. If I'm in a league with Denver fans, I know that Russell's gone this round.
He would be gone by now, for sure.
Yeah. But I'm not going to bite. I have no faith in Denver. I think they're a terrible team. The AFC West is the greatest division in the NFL. And I just don't want anything to do with that because I know those teams are just going to beat the hell out of each other all season long. So, what do I do?
It's a great question. Obviously, there's a lot of awkward picks around here. I've been looking at DeAndre Hopkins lately as, if you have three receivers already.
Yep.
D-Hop sitting on your bench for 6 weeks and then maybe coming back and being a wide receiver 1 is something that could be incredible. Obviously, Adam Thielen still on the Vikings offense, which I was talking about in my last video as well, is Kirk Cousins as like your late quarterback flyer is actually incredibly good. Like I was listening to a podcast and a stat where he was like, in the last 7 years, he's only finished in the top 14 or out of the top 14 one time. So he's been a top 14 quarterback for the last like 6 of 7 years. He's obviously shown that with two capable receiver offense with Thielen and Justin Jefferson. Like that's going to be a great offense. So Thielen's a good pick. You already have 3 receivers, 3 running backs, and a tight end, and you're choosing to go quarterback later. And obviously with the quarterbacks, there's just so many good players. You have Hall of Fame level quarterbacks in Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers being later in the draft still. Meanwhile, over half of the league has QBs
seven teams have it. Yeah, so like I'm not worried about my quarterback situation at all.
Yeah,
I just want someone else that's going to be able to produce points. And as much as I hate it, as much as I don't like it, the Atlanta offense is terrible. But somebody's got to be able to do something. So Cordero Patterson catches my eye, and I know that he's not going to make it back around the next time. So I think that's probably what I'm going to go with out of this.
Yeah, and there's no running back field in Atlanta. Like there's just no Damian Williams and Tyler Algier is the next 2 running backs, and you're like, who? And
exactly.
So that tells you the Falcons offense, and it's like Cordell Patterson, like won people the league last year, won people weeks last year. Like he was so good as a waiver pickup, and just was like a super good late round flyer or a waiver pickup. And after him, like you said, Russ goes, then Kareem Hunt, Thielen, and Sanders. I am sad that Rashad Bateman went in the 7th round, and maybe should have taken him instead of Cooks for that stack, because I'm a huge fan of getting some stacks going.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty good to have that kind of value, because Lamar is either going to hit Andrews or he's going to hit Bateman, so you're kind of hitting on either one of those. And I would have liked to have either one of them, but everything's fine. And I don't know how I feel. I drafted Dallas Goedert with the Jalen Hurts stack in my first video, and like it felt fine, but I just don't know with AJ Brown coming into the offense, and it's still going to be, they have the best offensive line in football. They're going to run the ball probably a decent amount, and I just don't know if Dallas Goedert is going to be a great pick, but I don't really like the tight ends after him for a long time, so it's kind of a tough decision here. And I have 4 receivers. This is probably a spot I should go running back. And I'm actually just going to reach here for Chase Edmonds. I talked so much about why he's going to be an incredible pick here. He went to Miami for a reason. He fits in with Mike McDaniel's zone run offense and loves that specific offense, and it works for him. So you already know he's going to be a very good player, and he's my 3rd running back still late into the draft. So I'm okay with reaching for that. And I mentioned that as well previously, is reach for the people you think will just change your league or change your weeks. Like you don't always go by ADP. Obviously, average draft position is there for a reason. It's kind of giving you a sample size of where this player goes. But Chase Edmonds usually goes in the 9th round. I took him in the end of the 8th. Like that's totally fine with me, because I know he's going to be a great backup running back. And if Kamara or Derrick Henry have off weeks or bye weeks, then I'm going to totally be fine with putting him in. So there's no worry for me. As we go into the 9th round, Gabriel Davis is someone I was kind of hoping would come back to me, but I have 4 receivers, so I think it's a tight end running back situation for me here, because my receivers, with the Brandon Cooks choice, I just have safety there. Mike Evans, Michael Pittman, Sutton, and Cooks, I'm totally fine with those as my receivers for the rest of the draft. I could take kind of the cuff option of Tony Pollard and see what he does this year, as you have Zeke, and I can just take his compadre.
Right.
And Tony Pollard has been really good, and obviously sharing a decent amount of workload. And I talked a little bit about the Bills' rushing offense. It is interesting because Devin Singletary is still a great runner and still did pretty good last year, but they drafted James Cook, and he's looked pretty good so far, and Zach Moss is kind of a goal line back. So there's still 3 running backs in Buffalo, which makes it really interesting. And
you have
kind
3, you don't have starter. It's like if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks. Like that's same thing with the running backs.
Yeah, and I like Dawson Knox helped me last year when George Kittle went down as my waiver pickup. He was a huge add, but I'd prefer Gabriel Davis over Dawson Knox in this kind of late round scenario. So it is that choice if I want to go with Dallas Goedert or just completely wait. And I think I'm just gonna wait. I don't really trust in Dallas Goedert. I know he's pretty much by himself, but Philly has some great weapons on offense now for once. So Jalen Hurts actually has some targets to throw to. I still think Dallas Goedert's gonna be one of his main targets as far as end zone goes. But I think I'm just going to go with Tony Pollard here. I'm going to go for the cuff option. It kind of gives me a safe pick at running back if Zeke goes down, or if Tony Pollard starts to shine and they start to share more work, then Tony Pollard is going to be just fine for me at the end of this draft.
Yeah, I like that because, yeah, like you said, Zeke's compadre out of the backfield. Pollard's going to get a decent amount of receptions. He's going to produce some points out of there. I'm going to go with the wide receiver in this one, which sucks because my 1, 2, 3 wide receivers I was looking at for what this pick was going to be was D-Hop, Darnell Mooney, or Gabriel Davis, which all went 1, 2, 3 right after you. So I was like, right. Well, I guess I'll find something else. I do have 4 running backs, though, so if I'm going to take anything, I need another receiver. I can, let it fizzle down to a quarterback. Like you said, there's still plenty on the table. I think everybody in this point now has a quarterback except for me. I'm the only one that doesn't. So it's like I'm not competing against anybody except for the AI that's just going to take an ADP spot. And that's the only thing that's the only reason I'm going to lose out on any quarterbacks. But out of feasibility, I know that no one else is realistically going to draft a quarterback as this will go with real people. But I'm still going to go with a wide receiver in this position. I still want something that I can handle with receptions. I'm real tempted looking at
some good ones.
There are some good ones there. Allen Lazard. I mean, you have Aaron Rodgers is your quarterback, so that's the end of that argument.
He wholeheartedly believes that Allen Lazard will fit in Devontae Adams' role. Like the way Aaron Rodgers talks about Allen Lazard is crazy. He's like, oh yeah, he'll fit into the one role. He'll be fine. I trust in him. So I mean, like for a 10th round pick almost to get the receiver 1 with Aaron Rodgers, it's like that's kind of crazy. Yeah.
That's a huge person that's raising their hand like, hey, hello, please draft me. Looking at Brandon Ayuk as well, San Francisco's offense. I mean, Trey Lance coming in is going to be able to hopefully do something better for that squad. So there's, like you said, there's people that are staring me down right now. I'm not going to touch Elijah Moore. Like I said, I will not touch the New York Jets offense. It's not going to happen. I don't care who's under center. You could put Tom Brady right now under center in New York with the current roster, and I would not touch anybody on that offense still. Like there's not even Tom Brady can save that team.
I'm starting to come around to that as well because I drafted Breece Hall, and after I drafted him, watched the video, I was like, why did I do that? Like, he's splitting time on one of the worst offenses in football. Like why would I want that? And obviously you take Allen Lazard, their pick comes back to you. I think that's a great choice. Like we're just hyped him up. Aaron Rodgers hates rookies, even though Romeo Doubs is getting like a ton of attention. Rodgers hates his rookie receivers, so he's going to hit Lazard almost every time. And they still have, I think, like Robert Tonyan is their tight end. Like they don't have a great other receiving options. So it's going to be the running backs, A.J. Dillon, Aaron Jones, and it's going to be Allen Lazard. And to get the receiver 1 on the Green Bay offense in the end of the 9th round is just insane value. Because you just have two, maybe 3, maybe 4 insane PPR receivers on your team already.
This is a team that I hope to score a lot of points for me. After this quick turn, and just because I know the AI exists, I'm going to go with a quarterback in my next pick, so I don't lose out on it, and have something to stand on with my roster as well. Well, if the AI didn't, then I would have had this player. I have 3 staring me down. I got Dak, Hail State. I went there. I saw him on campus once. Monster of a man. Even at 19 years old. So, like, he's a large man. And you talk about stacks. Like, I could stack Dak with Zeke, and that's insane. I could stack Aaron Rodgers with Allen Lazard, and that's insane. Other times, I would have Cooper Kupp.
You do have Dalton Schultz as well. You got a decent piece of the Dallas offense over there.
Also true. And that's enough Dallas for me. So I'm not going to take Dak. I hate triple dipping, so I'm not going to take Dak.
You don't want to be like Team 4 with the entire
Chargers offense? I really don't. I have the league MVP staring me down, Aaron Rodgers. But there's just a lot around that. Like I'm just, Yeah, he's putting up numbers still, but even with the questionable elbow, even with the situation up there, I got to take my boy Matt Stafford. And that's just me being loyal because Matt Stafford did some work in Detroit. I've loved Matt Stafford throughout his entire career. And now the fact that he's got his hardware, I couldn't be happier for him. So I'm putting him on my number one.
Yeah, I think that's totally fine. I would have loved to have the Aaron Rodgers or Lazard stack, and that's something other people can look at the end of mock drafts is you can have that stack in the 9th, 10th round pick of your draft and go no QB and have an insane receiver quarterback combo there at the end. But now I'm getting into danger territory. We got 3 picks left. Tight ends have already flown off the board. I am also scared they're going to keep flying, but I don't really like Zach Ertz too much. I think he'll still be a good chance, a good shot in this offense for Arizona. And, with the likes of DeAndre Hopkins being out for the first 6 weeks, it makes Zach Ertz a decent enough shot to get some work. But there's just a lot of mouths to feed in the Arizona offense, so it scares me just a little bit. And I prefer to go for a late shot tight end and one of the last picks, going for David Njoku on the Cleveland offense, who it's not going to be pretty, but I think Irv Smith is realistic, who I would start taking at the very end of these drafts. If he's healthy, he's on the Minnesota offense, who we already talked about. Feeds, Thielen, and Jefferson just fine as 2 top receivers, so not worried about that too much. And I think I'm just going to wait on the tight end pick. So looking at receivers and running backs, there's a lot on the list here.
Oh, yeah.
And my receivers are just so good, and I feel like I can still wait to see if who I want there. I love Chris Olave as far as the second option, but if Michael Thomas is really back, then he'll thwart a lot of that offense. And I already have Kamara, so I don't feel like double dipping on the Saints offense, which could be all right, but won't be the greatest. I'm actually going to go for Ramondre Stevenson here.
Okay.
We talked about how Damien Harris is kind of that one running back. Supposedly, they wanted to make Ramondre Stevenson have a James White role on the team, which if you could solely pick James White for the amount of receptions he has. But that was with Tom Brady. So it's a totally different era of running backs. But I think for this late, obviously if Damien Harris ever goes down, which I think had a couple of injuries last year, wasn't too crazy, but he did go down a couple of weeks, and we already talked about it. There's no running backs besides those 2 on this roster. Ty Montgomery is not going to come in and steal workload from either one of them. So I'm cool with that pick as a late running back, and gives me some options there. But now I think I'm going to save my last pick for tight end. Just go basically off the waivers for that one. And here, there's some very interesting options. Garrett Wilson, part of the Jets offense, not really interested. Chase Claypool's been getting overlooked a little bit simply because of George Pickens and the Steelers quarterback room, which is kind of up in the air still.
Right.
I don't really trust Trubisky, and Kenny Pickett looks all right, but he's still a rookie quarterback, so you kind of have to keep that in the back of your mind. But there's a lot of late receivers that I have interest on, but I don't really like all of these receivers now. I don't really want any of them. I'm looking at this list. Sky Moore is great. It'd be nice pick to have.
Yeah.
But I think I'd much rather have Marquez Valdez-Scantling. What I'm going to choose here.
True.
If Juju's out, if Juju has injuries, Marquez Valdez-Scantling is the number 1 on the Chiefs offense. And I gotta know who's in front of me. I gotta know there's a Chiefs fan in front of me in this draft, and I like Valdez-Scantling. He still played pretty well with Aaron Rodgers last year. Now he's with Patrick Mahomes, and he's the 2 for sure. Obviously, there's Kelsey there, but I think him and Juju kind of share similar roles on this team. So I am cool with that as my 11th pick.
Yeah, Valdez-Scantling being falling that far down was a player that I was looking to see if he made it back all the way to the bottom of this one, and based off of the ADP, there's a real chance that it could have. But like you said, you got to know who's in front of you. Sky Moore being on that roster as well. Now there's a lot of people with Tyreek being gone looking like who is going to take over that big slot. Yeah, you got this huge signing in Juju, bringing MVS to the roster as well. This is a really good reconstruction of a wide receiver core for Kansas City, and they really could put up some lethal numbers out of this. But it's just a matter of who's actually going to be the first to step up, and I love the MVS pick. I think that's a great one. I think that he's shown himself to be worthy of it in Green Bay, and I think that having a mobile playmaker like Pat in the backfield is just going to enable MVS that much more. So that's great pick. Hate you for it. Would have loved it on my team. But I'm still just going to stick to the wide receiver column here. I'm not too keen on a lot of these running backs. I don't really care too much about them. I don't think any of them are going to do too much. I mean, sure, Ronald Jones is in Kansas City, but you have Clyde in that backfield, and CEH is going to stay there forever. Melvin Gordon out of Denver. Like I said, AFC West is just going to beat the hell out of each other all year. So I'm not going to risk that. Naheem Hines exists, but I mean, Jonathan Taylor's a top 3 pick in the draft. So yeah, you could in a late round take Naheem Hines and just hope that maybe JT goes down and you have the backup right there.
Got good work. You know, he's still good. He's kind of playing that James White role as well. He's playing just a receiving back option. He's really young. Like the Colts have their 2 running backs locked in for the rest of time at this point with Nyheim Hines and Jonathan Taylor. And they paid Nyheim Hines a lot of money to stay on this team and make good use out of him. So yeah, he's like a very good, 13th, 14th round pick that as a running back that could become a starter if Jonathan Taylor ever goes down, and Nyheim Hines with an insane workload. But I like Dameon Pierce a lot as well. And I know he's on a terrible offense, but he's going to cement himself as a starting running back. And to get, I talked about this, to get a starting running back in the 11th or 12th round, it's just good enough value because the rest of the running backs are not very nice here. Yeah. So just to have that kind of solidarity at running back at the end of your draft is nice, but it's the Houston offense, so you got to be careful about that.
But this is also the end of the draft where I'm going to take some risks based on what's in front of me, and I think that there's some big offseason signings, one of which is putting a wide receiver 1 on a roster 1, and that's Julio Jones to Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I like it.
That's an insane player on a great team. This is like putting Julio on that is, taking Megatron out of Detroit and putting him with Tom Brady in New England. Like that's a 1-2 combo that's insane. And if Julio delivers out of that, then it's going to be incredible for his career, for his statistics. I just really hope that comes through. And at this point, all I can do is cross my fingers and hope. You were talking about your tight end pick. I think Mike Gesicki would have been a great one. I'm not really surprised to see him in the last round.
Okay, I have some news for you. Is how bad Gesicki is actually. They're starting to put him in a block only.
Are they actually?
Role.
Oh, that's so bad.
So they're completely away from him. They do not like him as a pass catching tight end. So. And as I brought up his player card, they think he's a possible trade candidate to get him out of Miami. So, yeah, I think so too.
For a place with who?
Specifically, I have no idea. I think he's specifically a pass-catching tight end, though, and he looked really good in the season with 112 targets, 70 catches, 800 yards. Like, he was great. But, yeah, to speak on that, I loved Mike Gesicki, but, yeah, apparently they're wanting him to be a block tight end, which is crazy.
Yeah. When you have Tua under center, like, you just need that emergency valve. And Gesicki was a great one, just to roll out and just kind of post up inside of his zone, like, and wait there. And if nothing comes to fruition, Tua's going to throw it away, or he's going to chuck it.
Yeah, will Tua have time to throw to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, who are going to burn their corners?
No.
He's under pressure in a second and a half. So it's like he's not going to be able to hit them on their deep routes.
Maybe that's why Gesicki's going to be a blocking tight end. Because, look, our offense line is so bad, we need 6 blockers. Please stay. That's the only argument I could see out of that one. But my last pick of the draft, coin toss. At this point, I really don't care. Round 10, I've checked out after I get my quarterback. I don't care who my last 2 picks are.
You can kind of just fly on this one. That's why these last picks of the draft are fun, because you could go with rookies who you think might have a chance. You can go with people who have incredible upside but might not be starters. Like, there's just some fun choices at the end of drafts.
Yeah.
Because you can always just drop these players. After week 1, if one of the waiver wires shows up and you're like,
yes,
oh, Julio Jones injured his hamstring and is out for the next 4 weeks again. You're like, all right, see you later, Julio. Right. Like, you're not really too stressed about that.
Yeah, and this is the point, like, looking at Dameon Pierce, the Houston offense, like, yes, I could go with a running back. I've got 4 running backs. I got 5 receivers. I'm pretty well set on this, and this is the first player that is going on that waiver wire. Instead, I'm going to make another highlight move. I'm going to go with one of the taglines, the most overpaid wide receiver in the NFL. Going to Christian Kirk.
As soon as you said it, I was like, yeah, dude, I don't know what Jacksonville is thinking. They bought 3 mediocre receivers for their team for way too much money.
Way too much.
I just couldn't believe it when
don't
I
get
saw
me
their
wrong.
signings.
Christian Kirk's not a bad wide receiver, but he is not worth what they paid.
He's making like $20 million a year or something like that. And he's in his
way too much
5th year, and he's never had more than 1,000 yards in any of his seasons.
If I was sensible,
it's crazy.
I would have drafted Pierce, and that would have been the rookie pick to exactly what you're talking about. You take the risk on. Pierce would have been the one I drafted, but just add a little spice of chaos. Throw in Christian Kirk. I don't care.
Yeah, and so I like Cole Kmet here as well. Obviously, the Chicago offense is going to be miserable, but he's just going to get a ton of receptions because Justin Fields is going to be running for his life trying to find a dump off pass. And there's only like 2 receivers on this entire offense that could even catch the ball. It's Cole Kmet and Darnell Mooney more than likely. So I'm going to go with Cole Kmet here to end my draft. It was that Irv Smith just kind of going for a reach and seeing what he can do if he stays healthy. But yeah, overall, this is how our teams ended up. You're at the 8th pick. I was at the 3rd pick. I started with Henry and Kamara, Mike Evans, Pittman, Cortland Sutton, and Cooks. Lamar. Oh, I love Lamar in the 6th round, to be honest.
These teams with 2 quarterbacks are wild, dude.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow, Rodgers, Russell, and Trey Lance, Herbert and Carr, Brady and Prescott. Like,
well, you're never replacing your starting quarterback with where you picked him. Like, I'm not taking out Joe Burrow. I'm not taking out Russ. I'm not taking out Tom Brady, like, or Justin Herbert, especially for Derek Carr. You're just getting a cheaper, washed version of Justin Herbert. Like, yeah, it's very odd, but. You know, I was trying to. I did last draft where I chose quarterback later. I went with Trey Lance in the last round because I think it's good value. We already talked about Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk are good enough receivers for him, and obviously George Kittle. George Kittle is there as well, and Trey Lance has rushing upside. And to get rushing upside in the 12th round for a quarterback, which gives you another pick to get another great receiver or running back earlier, it's totally nice to have. And you can always fly quarterbacks if you want to. Like I said, Kirk Cousins didn't get picked here. There's still some great quarterbacks still left on the waivers in this kind of a draft, so it's not a huge worry. But yeah, overall, how you feeling about your team? You know, your running backs, Zeke, Travis Etienne, and Jacobs and Cordero Patterson is I feel like it's a little bit scary, but only because you're just worried about Etienne, because if Etienne's fine, you have 2 solid running backs you're starting all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I at least have 2 functional running backs because I have Ezekiel Elliott.
Jacobs, for sure.
I have half of a running back in either Jacobs or Etienne, and I have half a running back in Deebo Samuel. So I I have 2 running backs that I have every single week because Deebo Samuel's, except for his bye week, is going to be up there in my starting roster. It's not going to change at all. I love
maybe even his bye week. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe. I love my points producers. Like I think this is going to be a team that scores a lot of points, especially in a PPR league. I think they're going to get a lot of attention. I think they're going to get a lot of love, barring any injuries. This is a team that I would be confident to take me into a playoff run.
Yeah, and you gotta think about it as well. Christian Kirk is overpaid. But he is the receiver 1 on the depth chart for the Jags. So you're getting a receiver 1 at the end of the draft, and I think Trevor Lawrence is fine. I think the team was terrible overall.
Yes.
So I really don't put as much blame as him. Urban Meyer was a terrible coach.
That's the thing.
There's just so many factors.
Yeah, you just gotta hope that the coaching change is going to be the difference maker out of it.
Yeah. And I think it can, and I think he has a lot better options because, they did go and grab 3 all-right players. Like, they had Laviska Shenault last year, who was pretty all right. They didn't have James or Travis Etienne at all, so that gives it a little bit more of an option for Trevor Lawrence.
Right.
And then, obviously, went and got Christian Kirk, Marvin Jones, who's very safe, who's just a great receiver, and Zay Jones, who's kind of still looking for his light, and Evan Ingram. Can't forget that Evan Ingram's still floating around. He's another great, just basically a receiver at the tight end spot for Jacksonville. So Trevor Lawrence does have the options now. His offensive line's still not great, but it is his year to try and make something happen.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know.
We'll see. And that ends the draft. Of course, let us know in the comments how you thought about our drafts, and we'll get to the more drafts in the future as we look at what happens. But quarterback, Lamar Jackson in the 7th, the end of the 6th round, I am totally okay with that. I was thinking about going late quarterback, but with that much value, after Kyler, Joe Burrow goes and getting that much rushing upside, I am okay with that, and would have been okay with taking Mark Andrews over Evans. That's kind of the pick I'm looking at in this draft is like, if I had taken Mark Andrews instead of Mike Evans with the stack, I'd have Pittman, Cortland Sutton, Brandon Cooks as like my 3 main PPR guys, and I think that'd be great still. It's just, like you said, Cortland Sutton, it is 50-50 on Jerry Jeudy. You're kind of trying to decide who Russell Wilson will choose that day, but he made Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf work, so I think he can do it again with the Denver offense with 2 great receivers. But yeah, any closing statements on your team, how you felt like the draft went?
Draft 8 out of 10 for my number 8 pick. I think out of my drafts, I have one of them. I'm in a number 5 slot, and I think the other 2 are going to be randomized on order, so I really have no idea what I'm going for. That's why I have wonderful people like you that make these videos and tell me what I can expect.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun because I am for sure a 1 spot, but yeah, I have other random drafts, so it's nice to go and mock all the way through because then you know what players drop, when you have to reach. You kind of can understand what other people are thinking later in the draft when you have these different choices. So yeah, let us know in the comments down below. Leave a like, subscribe. Make sure to go check out Trevor. I'll link his Twitter. I don't know if you, and his Twitch, I guess. I don't know if you making a YouTube content. We'll start making. There you go. We'll start making some fantasy football content together. There you guys, keep it in mind. Me and Trevor. We'll see you next time for pick number 4. That should be coming in the next couple of days. We'll see you then. Have a good one.
Thanks everybody for watching. If you guys have any comments, concerns about our drafts, if you guys think that we suck and know nothing about football, then let us know down below. Of course, leave a like on it. And I got my boy Pibbb in this one. He'll have all his stuff's gonna be down below in the description as well. So be sure to check him out. Of course, he's already got this series going. He's got a few videos posted up already. You'll be able to see my lovely comments. Nothing but supportive comments for him.
A true king.
Yes, a true king. We support our homies out here. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.